Hi everyone, welcome to week 7 of your Advanced Computers 2 course. This week we are finishing up chapter 3. Chapter 3, as you know, we already started with looking at different types of charts and things like that. So now we're going to get into a little more detail about those charts and things like that. So we're starting with slide 20 and we're finishing up the slide deck this week. So let's take a look at some of these chart elements. When we talk about a chart element, what we're talking about is different things that help to clarify the chart. So we have things like the axes. So these are the if we think of a bar graph or line graph, these are the things on the sides, right? These are the labels for those sides. So maybe we're talking about dollars, maybe we're talking about percents, things like that. So what this will do is you have to decide, what are the increments, what are the quantities that we're going to be using. So maybe we're going by tens, 20s, whatever. And so these labels are pre-done for us based on the data, but we can make changes to them as needed. Now the axes titles are the descriptions for those values. So maybe it's dollars spent or contracts loaded or whatever that particular title might be. That's what those are. And some cases you might want them, some cases you don't. So they're not displayed automatically. So that's what they mean by saying the axes titles are not displayed by default. You can have those put in. So you can choose to add those, but you can also choose to change them. So they don't necessarily have to be exactly what's in your data table. Your chart title is obviously the label that is for the entire chart. So again, you can change it. You can, make it whatever fits for your particular data. And again, you can make it be more specific than maybe your data table is. Now, the data labels are the exact value of a data point, and they're not displayed, but you can put them in there. There's pros and cons of that, depending on what your data labels look like. It might be too busy. You might just not have enough room for it. The values might be too high, that kind of thing. So, just be very careful with that. You don't want to make everything just too smushed together. The data table is the source of the value. So you, in some cases, might want to put the data table in the actual chart. I've done that before. It can be helpful, but you don't have to. So just keep that in mind. And then they talk about error bars. So this is when they talk about a standard deviation. These again are not displayed automatically. Grid lines, depending on the type of chart, they may automatically pop up in there, but it actually just kind of helps keep everything in line, helps you visualize things. And then a legend is telling you what things represent. So maybe the colors, things like that. And then a trend line is kind of showing you what's happening with the data. So those are just some of the different elements that you're going to see over throughout these charts as you're doing that. Now you can go ahead and look at how to adjust those, how to format them, and that's what the rest of these slides are going to go through. So when we want to see what exactly are there, what chart elements are available, you want to double click on that particular chart element, and then it'll pop up different things like this. Depending on what you clicked, they're not going to all show up at the same time. So you're going to have, maybe the chart area or the plot area or the series, and it's going to allow you to make some changes and things like that. Same thing for the axes. Right now it's set to do certain things, but you can change it. I actually have set up a data table before and had to switch them. So you can switch your X and Y's if you need to do that. Things like that. And then the labels, how to actually format that label. Maybe you want it to be the actual value that's there, or maybe you want it to be something different. Maybe you want it to look like, a different value. So you can pick and choose there what you want to do. So there's all kinds of format options available as you go through this. You can also create what we call filters for the which only show certain specific things from your data table. A sparkline is a miniature chart that's in just a single cell. So all kinds of little nifty things. Start with the basics. Don't try to do too much right away. But if you have any questions as you're going through this week's stuff, please make sure that you reach out to me, and have a great week.